The wind cut through the streets of Seoul like a knife made of ice. Dae-ho pulled his coat tighter as he locked the front door of his convenience store. The small shop had been his whole world for the past 5 years, ever since Hae-won died. Work, sleep, work again. That was his life now. Snow fell in thick sheets, covering everything in white. The weather report had warned people to stay inside. But Dae-ho lived above his store. He only had to climb 1 flight of stairs to reach his small apartment. Still, he wanted to take out the trash first. The bins were in the alley behind the building. He grabbed the garbage bags and stepped into the cold night. His breath came out in clouds. The alley was dark, except for 1 weak light above the back door. Dae-ho threw the bags into the large bins and turned to go back inside. That was when he heard it. A small sound, like something trying not to cry. Dae-ho stopped. He listened. There it was again, coming from behind the bins. He walked closer, his shoes crunching in the fresh snow. He looked behind the largest bin and froze. A child sat there, pressed against the cold brick wall. But this was not a human child. The small figure had skin that seemed almost transparent, like thin paper. Normally, aliens of this kind had glowing patterns under their skin, beautiful lights that moved and changed. Dae-ho had seen pictures, but this child's skin looked gray and dull, almost lifeless. The child wore thin clothes, nothing warm enough for winter. Snow covered the small body. The child looked up at Dae-ho with large eyes. Those eyes held pure terror. The small body shook, though Dae-ho could not tell if it was from cold or fear. Probably both. Dae-ho's first thought was to call the authorities. That was what people did when they found alien refugees. The government had systems for this. It was not his problem. He was just a store owner. He had enough troubles of his own, but he did not move. He kept looking at those frightened eyes. The child made a soft sound, like a bird's chirp mixed with a click. The small arms wrapped tighter around the thin body. The child was dying out here. Anyone could see that. Dae-ho remembered his daughter, Nari. He had not seen her in 15 years, not since the divorce. She had been about this size when he left. He remembered her eyes on that last day, looking at him like he was abandoning her. Because he was. He had failed his daughter. He had been a coward, choosing the easy path instead of fighting to stay in her life. After the divorce, he had let the distance grow. Then he married Hae-won, started over, pretended his first family did not exist. Hae-won had begged him to reconnect with Nari before she died, but he never found the courage. The alien child whimpered again. "Damn it," Dae-ho muttered. He bent down slowly, not wanting to scare the child more. "Come inside before you freeze." The child did not move. Of course not. The child probably thought Dae-ho would hurt it. Most humans these days were not kind to aliens, especially not to Valorians. Everyone knew about the war on their planet. Everyone knew how Valorian refugees kept coming to Earth, causing problems, taking resources. Dae-ho took off his coat. The cold hit him immediately, but he ignored it. He held out the coat slowly, showing he meant no harm. "It is okay," he said softly, even though the child could not understand Korean. "I will not hurt you." The child stared at the coat, then at Dae-ho's face. Something in his expression must have convinced the small creature. Slowly, the child reached out and touched the coat. When nothing bad happened, the child took it and wrapped it around those thin shoulders. Dae-ho stood up and gestured toward the door. "Come." Inside. Warm. He pointed at the door. Then, at the child. Then made a warming gesture with his hands. The child understood. Slowly, shakily, the small figure stood up. The child was even smaller than Dae-ho thought, barely reaching his waist. The coat dragged on the ground as the child took careful steps toward him. Dae-ho led the way to the back door and opened it. Warm air rushed out. The child hesitated at the threshold, as if crossing it meant something permanent. Then the cold wind blew harder, and survival instinct won. The child stepped inside. Dae-ho closed the door behind them. They stood in the back room of his store, surrounded by boxes and supplies. The child's whole body shook violently now. Dae-ho realized the child might be beyond simple cold. This might be serious. He led the child upstairs to his apartment. It was small and plain. One room served as bedroom and living room. A tiny kitchen sat in the corner. A bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. It was not much, but it was warm. The child stood in the middle of the room, looking around with those large eyes. Dae-ho went to his closet and pulled out every blanket he owned. He made a nest of blankets on his small couch and gestured for the child to sit. The child sat down carefully, as if expecting a trap. When nothing bad happened, the small body curled up in the blankets. Dae-ho could see the child was exhausted beyond measure. "Food," Dae-ho said. "You need food. And water." He went to his kitchen and looked at what he had. Rice, kimchi, instant noodles, some fruit. He had no idea what Valorians ate. Could they even eat human food? He wished he had paid more attention to the news reports about aliens. He decided to start simple. He washed an apple and cut it into small pieces. He brought the plate to the child, along with a glass of water. The child looked at the food suspiciously. Then hunger won over caution. The small hand reached out and took a piece of apple. The child sniffed it, then took a tiny bite. After a moment, the child ate the whole piece, then another, then another. The child drank the water so fast that some spilled down the chin. Dae-ho watched this small creature eat like someone who had not seen food in days. His chest felt tight. What kind of world was this, where children froze in alleys? What kind of man was he, that he had almost walked away? When the child finished eating, those big eyes looked at him again. This time there was less fear. Not trust yet, but less fear. That was something. "Sleep," Dae-ho said gently. He made a sleeping gesture with his hands against his cheek. The child seemed to understand. The small body lay down in the blankets and curled into a tight ball. Within minutes, the child was asleep. Dae-ho sat in his only chair and watched the child breathe. What had he done? He had just brought an illegal alien into his home. If anyone found out, he could face serious trouble. The government did not joke about unauthorized harboring of refugees. But looking at that small sleeping form, Dae-ho could not bring himself to regret his choice. Not yet anyway. He would figure out what to do in the morning. For tonight, this child was safe and warm. For tonight, that would have to be enough. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in silence. Morning light came through the window and woke Dae-ho. He had fallen asleep in his chair, still wearing yesterday's clothes. His neck hurt, and his back was stiff. Then he remembered why he had not gone to bed. The child was still there, still curled up in the blankets on his couch. In the daylight, Dae-ho could see the child better. The transparent skin showed delicate patterns underneath, like veins, but more beautiful. They barely glowed now, just faint traces of blue and green. The child's breathing was soft and steady. Dae-ho stood up quietly and went to his small kitchen. He needed to figure out what this child could eat. He pulled out his phone and searched for information about Valorians. Most of what he found was about the war on their planet, or about the refugee crisis. Finally, he found a medical article. Valorians could eat most fruits, some vegetables, and certain proteins. No processed foods, nothing with strong chemicals. Their systems were delicate. He looked at his simple kitchen. He had apples, some oranges, bananas. In his refrigerator, he had eggs and some plain chicken. That might work. The child stirred on the couch. Those big eyes opened slowly, then went wide with fear. The child sat up fast, looking around the strange room, clearly trying to remember how they got here. "It is okay," Dae-ho said softly, holding up his hands. "You are safe. Remember? Last night? The cold?" The child stared at him. Slowly, memory seemed to return. The small body relaxed just a little. Dae-ho pointed at himself. Daeho, he said. Then he pointed at the child and raised his eyebrows in question. The child made a series of soft clicks and chirps. It sounded almost like singing, but Daeho could not possibly pronounce it. I cannot say that, he admitted. He thought for a moment. In the sounds the child made, he heard something that reminded him of the Korean name, Bo-mi. Bo-mi, he said, pointing at the child. I will call you Bo-mi. Is that okay? The child tilted their head, considering. Then, slowly, Bo-mi nodded. It was a start. Over the next few days, Daeho learned to care for Bo-mi. He discovered that Bo-mi liked sweet fruits best. Strawberries made those dim patterns under the skin glow a little brighter. Plain scrambled eggs were acceptable. Rice was not good for Valorians, which Daeho learned after Bo-mi got sick one night. Bo-mi stayed in the apartment while Daeho worked in the store below. He could not afford to close his business. People would ask questions. But every hour, he went upstairs to check on Bo-mi. He brought food, water, and tried to communicate with gestures and simple words. On the third day, Daeho's sister Yoo-jin came to visit. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital and usually stopped by once a week to check on him. Daeho had forgotten she was coming. Brother, she called from downstairs. Are you here? I brought some side dishes. Daeho's heart jumped into his throat. He ran upstairs ahead of her. Bo-mi was sitting on the couch, drawing pictures with some old paper and pens Daeho had found. Stay quiet, Daeho whispered urgently. Please. But Yoo-jin was already climbing the stairs. She opened the door and walked in, carrying a bag of containers. She froze when she saw Bo-mi. Daeho, she said slowly. Why is there a Valorian child in your apartment? Yoo-jin, I can explain. Do you know what trouble this could bring you? Her voice was sharp. They are looking for unauthorized aliens everywhere. You could go to jail. She was freezing to death in the alley, Daeho said. What was I supposed to do? Let her die? Yoo-jin looked at Bo-mi, who had pulled the blankets up like a shield. Her professional eye took in the child's condition. How long has she been here? 3 days. Yoo-jin set down her bag and moved closer to Bo-mi. Her voice changed, becoming gentler. I am not going to hurt you, she said. She looked at Daeho. Has she been checked? Is she injured? I do not know. I think she might be sick. She barely moves. Yoo-jin sat down slowly near the couch. She made calm, gentle movements, the way she would with a scared patient. Bo-mi, is it? Can I look at you? I am a nurse. I help people who are hurt. Bo-mi looked at Daeho. He nodded encouragingly. Slowly, Bo-mi let the blanket drop a little. Yoo-jin examined the child carefully without touching it first. She is malnourished, she said quietly. And look at these patterns. They should be bright. This child has been suffering for a long time. She finally looked at her brother. You cannot keep her here forever. You know that, right? I know, Daeho said. I need time to figure out what to do, Yoo-jin sighed. I will bring some vitamins tomorrow. And some proper food for her. But Daeho, you need a plan. This cannot last. That evening, after Yoo-jin left, Daeho sat with Bo-mi and tried to learn more. Through pictures and gestures, Bo-mi told a story. She drew a beautiful planet with tall structures. She drew many figures like herself, all glowing bright. Then she drew fire and darkness. She drew herself being taken by someone big, put on a ship. She drew being left alone in a cold place. Daeho felt anger burn in his chest. Someone had trafficked this child. Someone had brought her to Earth and abandoned her to die. You are safe now, he promised, even though he was not sure he could keep that promise. I will not let anyone hurt you. Bo-mi looked at him and made a soft sound. Then she did something that broke Daeho's heart. She whispered one Korean word, one she must have learned from listening to him. Appa. Father. The next morning, Daeho woke to loud voices outside. He looked out the window and saw people gathered in the street. They were looking at his store. His heart sank when he saw what they were looking at. Someone had spray-painted words on his storefront in red. Alien lover. Below that, send them back. Daeho recognized the handwriting. It was Tae-min, the old man who lived 3 doors down. Tae-min had lost his son years ago in an incident involving aliens. He blamed all aliens for his loss. Stay inside, Daeho told Bo-mi. Do not come to the window. He went downstairs and outside. Several neighbors stood there, looking uncomfortable. Jin-soo, the young delivery driver who often came to Daeho's store, was trying to clean the paint with a cloth. I am sorry, Mr. Daeho, Jin-soo said. I saw Tae-min doing this last night, but I could not stop him. Tae-min himself stood across the street, glaring at Daeho. We know what you are hiding up there, the old man shouted. We do not want aliens in our neighborhood. They bring nothing but trouble. Other neighbors looked away, embarrassed but not speaking up. Daeho realized with a cold feeling that his secret was not a secret anymore. I do not know what you are talking about, Daeho said, though the words sounded weak even to him. Liar, Tae-min spat. My grandson saw something through your window. A glowing thing. A Valorian. Jin-soo stepped forward. Mr. Tae-min, even if that was true, it is Mr. Daeho's business, not ours. It becomes our business when he puts us all at risk. Tae-min shot back. The government cracks down on neighborhoods that harbor illegals. Property values drop. We could all suffer because of his stupid kindness. Daeho felt very tired suddenly. He looked at these people he had lived near for years. Some looked sympathetic but scared. Others looked angry. None looked like they would help. I am just running my store, Daeho said finally. That is all. He turned and went back inside, his hands shaking. Upstairs, he found Bo-mi standing at the window, looking down at the scene. The patterns under her skin pulsed with dim, fearful colors. It is okay, Daeho said, though he was not sure it was. Bo-mi turned to him. She had tears on her face. Even alien children cried, Daeho realized. She pointed down at the street, then at herself. She made a gesture like leaving. No, Daeho said firmly. You are not going anywhere. This is not your fault. But as he held the frightened child, Daeho knew the situation had just become much more dangerous. People knew now. And if people knew, it was only a matter of time before the authorities found out too. The next week passed in constant fear. Daeho jumped at every sound. Every customer who came into his store might be the one who would report him. Every car that drove by slowly might be government agents coming to take Bo-mi away. Yujin came by more often now, bringing supplies and medicine. She had stopped arguing with Daeho about sending Bo-mi away. Instead, she focused on keeping the child healthy. Bo-mi's patterns were getting brighter, at least. The proper food and warmth were helping. She is learning Korean fast, Yujin observed one evening. Bo-mi could now say simple words like hungry, water, thank you, and appa. That last one she used for Daeho. And each time she said it, his heart hurt a little. She is smart. Daeho agreed. He watched Bo-mi practice writing Korean letters. Too smart to be left behind like trash. Yujin was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I examined her more carefully yesterday. Brother, there is something you need to know. Daeho felt his stomach drop. What? She has an implant. Here, at the base of her skull. Yujin touched her own neck to show the spot. It is small, but I felt it. I think it is a tracker. A tracker? Daeho's blood ran cold. You mean someone can find her? Tracker. Yes, and they might be looking. Yujin's face was serious. If she was trafficked like you think, the people who took her might want her back. Or the authorities might be tracking her to process her through the system. Can you remove it? Yujin hesitated. I could try. But it would be risky. If I do it wrong, I could hurt her. And if I do it right, whoever is tracking her will know something happened. If you do not remove it, they will find her anyway. His sister nodded slowly. I know. I will bring tools tomorrow. We will do it tomorrow night when the store is closed. The next night felt like the longest of Daeho's life. Jin-Soo helped by standing watch outside. The young man had become a surprising ally. He brought food that Bomi could eat, and never asked questions that Daeho could not answer. Inside the apartment, Yujin laid out her medical supplies on the small kitchen table. Bomi sat very still, understanding something important was happening even if she did not know exactly what. This will hurt, Yujin told her gently. But you must stay very still. Can you do that? Bomi looked at Daeho. He held her hand and nodded. You are brave, he said. This will help keep you safe. The procedure took 20 minutes that felt like hours. Bomi whimpered but did not move. Tears ran down her face. But she stayed perfectly still. Daeho held her hand the whole time, fighting his own tears. Finally, Yujin held up a small device, no bigger than a grain of rice. Got it, she said. She quickly treated the small wound on Bomi's neck. It is done, little one. You were so brave. Bomi immediately turned and buried her face against Daeho's chest, her small body shaking. He held her tight, murmuring comfort. What do we do with it? Daeho asked, looking at the tiny tracker. Jin-Soo, who had come upstairs when it was over, spoke up. I know someone. Someone who helps people like Bomi. Give it to me. I will make sure it ends up far from here. Daeho looked at the young man with new understanding. You are part of something, are not you? Some kind of network. Jin-Soo did not deny it. There are good people who help refugees. People who believe everyone deserves safety. No matter where they come from. I can connect you with them if you want. Why did you not say anything before? Because you needed to make your own choice first. Jin-Soo took the tracker carefully. Now you have. And there is no going back. He was right. By removing the tracker, Daeho had made his choice clear. He was protecting Bomi, no matter what the law said. 3 days later, a woman came to the store. She wore a government badge and had the cold, professional look of someone who had seen too much. Mr. Daeho? She asked. His heart hammered. Yes? I am Agent Sang-hee. I investigate missing alien refugees. She showed him identification. I need to ask you some questions. There was no one else in the store. Daeho tried to keep his face calm. Of course. How can I help? We have been tracking a missing Valorian child. The signal led to this neighborhood before it went dead a few days ago. Her eyes watched him carefully. Have you seen anything unusual? Any alien individuals? This is Seoul, Daeho said. I see people from all over every day. I do not pay much attention. This child is about this tall. She held her hand at waist height. Translucent skin, bioluminescent patterns. Very distinctive. I have not seen anyone like that. Agent Sang-hee pulled out a tablet and showed him a picture. It was Bomi, or at least a child, who looked exactly like Bomi. This is the child. Her clutch name translates roughly to Morning Light. She was separated from her family during evacuation from their planet. She was supposed to be processed at a refugee center, but disappeared before she could be registered. Daeho's mind raced. So Bomi had not been trafficked. She was a legitimate refugee who had gotten lost in the system. But did that make the situation better or worse? I am sorry, he said. I have not seen her. The agent studied his face for a long moment. Then she handed him a card. If you do see her, call me. It is important we find her. The system has problems, yes. But it is better than being alone on the streets. After she left, Daeho went upstairs with shaking hands. Bomi was hiding in the bathroom, where Yujin had told her to go when Daeho sent a warning text. She is gone, Daeho said. You can come out. Bomi emerged slowly. Bad woman? She asked in broken Korean. No, Daeho said. Not bad, but she wants to take you away. I will not let that happen. That night, there was a neighborhood meeting at the community center. Daeho did not want to go, but Jinsu told him he should. If you hide, it makes you look guilty. The meeting room was packed. Taemin stood at the front, leading the discussion. We need to address the alien situation, he said loudly. They are taking over our neighborhoods. They are bringing crime and disease. We need to demand action from the government. Several people nodded. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Then an old woman named Ji-woo stood up. She was small and bent with age, but her voice was strong. Taemin, do you remember the war? Do you remember when we fled south with nothing? Who fed us when we were hungry? Who gave us shelter when we were cold? That was different, Taemin said. How was it different? Ji-woo demanded. We were refugees too. We had nowhere to go. People showed us mercy. Should we not do the same? These are aliens, not Koreans, someone shouted. They are children, Ji-woo shot back. They are scared and alone. What has happened to our humanity? Daeho felt something stir in his chest. He stood up, surprising himself. Everyone turned to look at him. I have been thinking about my own daughter, he said. His voice shook, but he kept going. I have not seen her in 15 years. I left her when she was young, and I never went back. I was a coward. I am ashamed of that every day. The room was silent now. Kindness costs us nothing, Daeho continued, but the lack of it costs everything. I do not want to live in a neighborhood where we let children freeze in alleys. That is not the world I want. Taemin's face was red. Your bleeding heart will bring us all down. Maybe, Daeho said, but at least I will be able to sleep at night. He sat down, his legs shaking. The meeting continued, but Daeho barely heard it. He was thinking about Bo-mi upstairs, alone and frightened. He was thinking about choices and consequences. He was thinking about what kind of man he wanted to be. When he got home, Bo-mi was curled up on the couch with a blanket, waiting for him. She had drawn a picture. It showed a stick figure that was clearly Daeho, and a smaller figure holding his hand. Above them, she had drawn a heart. Appa good, she said carefully in Korean. Bo-mi safe. Daeho picked up the drawing with shaking hands. When had this stopped being about easing his guilt? When had this child become so important to him? Yes, he whispered. You are safe. I promise. But even as he said it, he wondered if it was a promise he could keep. The knock came at 6 a.m, hard and official. Daeho had been awake already, unable to sleep. He had been expecting this. Mr. Daeho, this is Agent Sang-hee. I have a warrant to search your property. Snow fell outside again, just like the night he found Bo-mi. Daeho looked at the child, who was already awake and trembling. He had prepared for this moment. There was a small storage space behind the bathroom wall, barely big enough for a child. He had never thought he would need to use it. Go, he whispered to Bo-mi. Remember what we practiced? Stay quiet no matter what. I will come get you when it is safe. Bo-mi's eyes were huge with fear, but she nodded. She had learned to trust him. She squeezed into the tiny space, and Daeho closed the panel, making sure it looked like normal wall. Then he opened the door. Agent Sang-hee stood there with 2 other officers. She looked tired. I am sorry about this, she said quietly. But I received orders to search your premises. We have reason to believe you are harboring an unregistered alien refugee. Search if you must, Daeho said, stepping aside. They came in and began looking through everything. They opened closets, checked under the bed, looked behind furniture. Daeho's phone buzzed. It was Jinsu. I saw them arrive, creating distraction. Hold on. Outside, there was a sudden loud crash. One of the officers ran to the window. Sir, there has been an accident. A delivery truck hit a pole. Agent Sang-hee frowned. Go check it out. I will finish here. The officers left. Suddenly, it was just Daeho and the agent. She continued her search, methodical and thorough. She found the spare blankets Daeho had used for Bomi. She found the special food he had bought. She found the drawings Bomi had made. She held up one of the drawings, the one with the two stick figures holding hands. She looked at Daeho for a long moment. "I have been doing this job for 2 years," she said quietly. "Do you know how many Valorian children I have processed? 53. Do you know how many found their families? 3. Daeho said nothing. "The rest." She set down the drawing. "They go to holding facilities. They wait for processing. Some get sent to colony worlds, but not to family, just to places that will take them. Some disappear into the system. I file the reports. I follow protocol, but I do not sleep well anymore." "Why are you telling me this?" Agent Sang-hee walked to the bathroom and stood there, looking at the wall. Daeho's heart pounded. Had she found the hidden space? But she did not move to open it. "The tracker signal ended in this area," she said. "The device was found in a recycling plant 3 days ago. 60 kilometers away." "Clever." She turned to face him. "I am going to file my report. It will say I searched your property and found no evidence of alien presence. The case will be marked as cold after 1 week. Do you understand?" Daeho could barely breathe. "Why?" "Because that child, if she exists, deserves better than what the system will give her. And because I am tired of being part of a system that fails children." She moved toward the door. "You have 1 week. After that, other agents might be assigned to this case. Agents who are not as tired as I am." After she left, Daeho waited 10 minutes before letting Bomi out. The child was crying silently, and she threw her arms around him. "It is okay," he said, holding her tight. "You are safe." But she was right. We only have 1 week to figure this out. That afternoon, Jin-soo came to the store after hours. He had someone with him, an older woman with kind eyes. "This is Mrs. Hae-suk," Jin-soo said. "She runs the safe houses." "Mr. Daeho," the woman said. "Jin-soo tells me you need help. I want you to know that there are networks across the country. We help refugees get to safety. We have a facility in Busan, and from there, we can get people off-world to colonies where they have family." "How long would it take?" Daeho asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. "We would need to prepare documents, arrange transport. It is not easy, but it is possible." Daeho thought of Bomi upstairs. Could he really send her away? But what choice did he have? Staying here was too dangerous now. "There is something else you should know, Mrs. Hae-suk said gently. "We have someone in Busan who might be able to help you personally. Her name came up in our system when we ran your background check. Your daughter, Nari. She volunteers at our Busan facility." Daeho felt like he had been hit. "Nari? My Nari? She has been trying to find you for months. When your name was flagged in our system because of the tracker signal, she asked to be informed." Mrs. Hae-suk pulled out a tablet and showed him a message. "She wrote this for you," Daeho read with shaking hands. The message was short. "Father, I heard what you are doing. I am proud of you. If you need help, I am here. Finally, I am proud to be your daughter." Tears ran down Daeho's face. After 15 years, after all his failures, his daughter was reaching out. Because he had done one good thing. Because he had saved one child. "I need to think," he said. Over the next 2 days, Daeho struggled with his decision. Bomi was learning more Korean every day. She laughed now sometimes. Her patterns glowed bright blue and green when she was happy. She called him Appa without hesitation. How could he send her away? But how could he keep her here? Always hiding. Always in danger. On the 3rd day, Yujin brought news. "There was an attack," she said grimly. A ship full of Valorian refugees was attacked by extremists near the coast. 7 dead, including children. Daeho felt sick. The world was becoming more dangerous for aliens every day. Bomi was not safe anywhere on Earth. That evening, he sat down with Bomi. She was getting better at Korean now, and she could understand more. Bomi, he said gently. I need to tell you something. There is a place where your family might be. Your real family. Your people. On another world. Bomi looked at him with those big eyes. Clutch mother? She asked. They had learned that word together. It was what Valorians called their parents. Maybe. I do not know for sure. But there are other Valorians there. People who will take care of you. Where you do not have to hide. Appa come? She asked. The question broke his heart. Bomi was quiet for a long time. Then she said, in careful Korean, Bomi go if Appa safe. Bomi want Appa safe. This child, who had lost everything, was worried about him. Daeho pulled her close. We will figure it out together. The next morning, Jinsu came with urgent news. We need to move now. There are rumors that immigration is doing neighborhood sweeps. We can get you to Busan tonight, but we need to leave in 2 hours. 2 hours. Daeho looked around his small apartment, his store. This had been his whole life for 5 years. But it was just a place. Bomi was real. Nari was real. This chance at redemption was real. He called Yujin. I am leaving. Can you manage the store? His sister was quiet for a moment. Then she said, yes. Go. Save that child. And maybe save yourself too. Daeho packed quickly. He took only clothes and some money. Jinsu helped carry the bags to a waiting van. Mrs. Haisuk was driving. As they were about to leave, Tae-min appeared in the street. The old man looked at the van, at Daeho, at Bomi holding Daeho's hand. You are running, Tae-min said. Yes, you are a fool. Maybe. Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. Then, to Daeho's shock, the old man's eyes filled with tears. My son, he died helping aliens. I blamed them for taking him away from me. But he chose to help them. He chose kindness. I have hated him for that choice every day. But seeing you. He stopped, unable to continue. I am sorry for your loss, Daeho said. Keep her safe, Tae-min said hoarsely. Do what my son tried to do. Do not let his death mean nothing. Then the old man turned and walked away. As the van pulled away from Seoul, Bomi looked out the window at the snowy city. Goodbye, she whispered in Korean. Goodbye, Daeho echoed. He was leaving behind his old life. Ahead was uncertainty, danger, and the daughter he had not seen in 15 years. But he was not alone. Bomi's small hand held his tightly. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The drive to Busan took 8 hours. They had to take back roads and avoid checkpoints. Bomi slept most of the way. Curled up next to Daeho in the back of the van, he watched her sleep and wondered what would happen when they arrived. Mrs. Haisuk drove carefully, never going too fast or too slow. Jinsu sat in the passenger seat, watching for any signs of trouble. They stopped twice at safe houses along the way. Places where the network sheltered refugees in transit. At the second house, an elderly man served them soup. How many have you helped? Daeho asked him. 40, maybe 50 over the years, the old man said. Different species, different stories. All the same fear in their eyes. All the same hope that tomorrow will be better. Why do you do it? The old man smiled. Because I was helped once. Long ago. During the war, a stranger hid my family when soldiers came. That stranger could have been killed for helping us. But he chose kindness anyway. I am just repaying an old debt. They reached Busan at sunset. The city sprawled along the coast, lights reflecting off the dark water. Mrs. Haisuk drove to a quiet neighborhood and pulled up to a simple building. A sign said it was a community center. This is it, she said. The safe house is downstairs. Your daughter is inside. Daeho's hands shook as he got out of the van. Bomi held his hand tightly. She could feel his nervousness. Appa scared? She asked. Yes, he admitted. But sometimes we have to be brave even when we are scared. The door opened before they reached it. A young woman stood there, backlit by the warm light inside. She had her mother's eyes, Daeho realized. His first wife's eyes, but her face was her own, older than he remembered, shaped by years he had missed. "Father," Nari said. Her voice shook. "Nari," he whispered. They stood there for a long moment. 15 years of silence between them. Then Nari stepped forward and hugged him. It was awkward at first. Then tighter. Daeho hugged his daughter back, tears running down his face. "I am sorry," he said. "I am so sorry for leaving. For staying away. For being a coward." "I know," Nari said. "But you are here now. That is what matters." She pulled back and looked down at Bomi, who watched this reunion with wide eyes. Nari knelt down to be at the child's level. "Hello, Bomi," she said gently. "I have heard about you. You are very brave." Bomi looked at Daeho, then back at Nari. "Appa, daughter?" she asked carefully. "Yes," Nari said. "Appa good," Bomi announced, as if this explained everything. Nari laughed, a sound that made Daeho's heart ache with all the years of laughter he had missed. "Yes," she said. "Appa is good." Inside, the safe house was warm and clean. Several other refugees were there, including 2 more Valorian children. Bomi stared at them with wonder. She had been alone for so long. Nari showed them around. "We have beds, food, medical care. We help people prepare for the next step of their journey. Some stay a few days. Some stay weeks." She looked at her father. "You both can stay as long as you need." That night, after Bomi was asleep with the other children, Daeho and Nari sat together and talked. 15 years of life spilled out in broken conversations. Nari told him about university, about her work with refugees, about the partner she had who also worked in the network. "Why this work?" Daeho asked. "Why refugees?" Nari was quiet for a moment. "Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned, to feel like no one wants you." She looked at him. "I was angry at you for so long. But then I started working with these people, these beings from other worlds who lost everything. I saw real suffering. And I realized, holding on to anger was just hurting me. So I let it go. I chose to help people instead." "Hoding, you are a better person than I am," Daeho said. "No," Nari said. "I just got a head start on letting go. But you are here now. You saved Bomi. That took courage." The next day, Nari brought them to meet someone special. A Valorian adult stood in the garden behind the safe house. She was tall and elegant, her patterns glowing bright gold and purple. "This is Velnara," Nari said. "She arrived 2 days ago, looking for family." Velnara turned and saw Bomi. Her patterns flashed bright, then she made a sound, a cry of joy mixed with clicking. She rushed forward and knelt, speaking rapidly in the Valorian language. Bomi stared at her, then began to cry. She responded in the same language, words tumbling out. The two of them embraced, patterns glowing bright together. "What are they saying?" Daeho asked. Nari listened, her Valorian language skills better than she had admitted. Velnara is Bomi's clutch aunt. Her mother's sister. She has been searching for Bomi for months, ever since they were separated during the evacuation. Daeho watched Bomi cling to her aunt, and his heart broke and healed at the same time. This was what Bomi needed. Real family. Her own people. But it hurt more than he expected. Over the next 3 days, plans were made. A transport ship would leave for the colony world in 1 week. Velnara and Bomi would be on it. The colony had a whole community of Valorians there, including more of Bomi's extended clutch family. "You could come with us," Velnara said to Daeho through Nari's translation. "Our people honor those who show compassion. You saved our little light. You would be welcomed." Daeho looked at Nari, who smiled sadly. "It is your choice, father." He thought about it seriously. He could go to an alien world, start completely over. But he looked at his daughter, this woman he barely knew, but desperately wanted to know better. He looked at the safe house, at the work being done here. I think I need to stay, he said finally. There is work to do here. And I have 15 years of being a father to make up for. Nari's eyes filled with tears. You are staying? If you will have me. She hugged him tight. Of course. We need help here. Lots of help. On the night before the ship was to leave, snow began to fall again. Daeho noticed Bo-mi standing at the window, watching the snow. He joined her. Pretty, she said in Korean. Her language skills had improved rapidly over the weeks. Yes, he agreed. First snow, Bo-mi very scared, she said slowly. Cold, alone, no hope. Then, Appa find Bo-mi. Appa save Bo-mi. You saved me too, Daeho said. You helped me remember how to be human. Bo-mi looked up at him. Bo-mi go tomorrow. Go to family, to home. But Bo-mi never forget Appa. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object. It was a Valorian memory stone. Something Velnara had given her. The stone glowed softly with recorded memories. For Appa, she said. Keep always. Remember, Bo-mi. Daeho took the stone with shaking hands. I will never forget you. Bo-mi hugged him one last time. Appa is Bo-mi's earth-clutch father. Forever. The next morning at the spaceport was chaos. Dozens of refugees were boarding the ship, heading to different colony worlds. Velnara held Bo-mi's hand as they went through the final checks. Daeho stood with Nari, watching. Bo-mi turned back one last time and waved. Her patterns glowed brilliant blue and green now, healthy and happy. She was going to be okay. She will have a good life, Nari said softly. I know. The ship lifted off slowly, rising into the gray sky. Daeho watched until it disappeared into the clouds. What now? Nari asked. Daeho looked at his daughter. Really looked at her. She was strong and kind and everything he had hoped she would become, despite his failures. Now I help you, he said. This safe house needs work. More refugees come every day. I may not be able to save everyone, but I can try. Nari smiled. We could use someone with your skills. Someone who knows how to run a store, manage supplies, organize things. I have one condition, Daeho said. What? We have dinner together every week. Just us, father and daughter. We have a lot of time to make up for. Nari's smile grew wider. Deal. 6 months later, Daeho stood at the door of the safe house during another winter storm. The building had been expanded. More volunteers had joined. They helped refugees from a dozen different species now. There was a knock at the door. Daeho opened it to find a small figure standing in the snow. This one was not Valorian. This one had blue skin and 4 arms and looked terrified. Daeho did not hesitate. He opened the door wider and smiled. Come inside before you freeze, he said. The small alien looked up at him with huge eyes, just like Bo-mi had all those months ago. Then the child stepped inside. Into the warmth and light, Nari came to see who was at the door. She saw the new child and smiled at her father. Another one? Another one, Daeho confirmed. Then we better get them some food and warm clothes. They worked together. Father and daughter, helping this new child the same way they had helped dozens before. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in silence. But inside, there was warmth. Inside, there was hope. Inside, there was family, the kind you are born into, and the kind you choose. Daeho touched the memory stone in his pocket, the one Bo-mi had given him. It glowed softly, a reminder of the night when everything changed. The night he stopped being a coward and started being human. The night he welcomed a freezing child inside and saved them both.